buy another one, we have one original for free.
Sure.
So
Creme brulee.
Parmalee.
Yeah, whatever.
2 Oreo, 1 Parmalee.
Yeah.
Can I have a name?
Megan?
Thank you.
Bubble tea, ice cream. Yeah.
Here you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got it. Thank you. No. Yeah, all you gotta do
It's really challenging.
You want me to drink it or no?
Whether you're a diehard fan or just love the sport, this is your chance to step into the game. Everyone has
Kind of like a build your own.